Hello, Lifeline. It's time for our community updates. Elsie, don't forget the staples of our community. Lifeline, we are focusing on faith, finance, family, and fitness every month through the year of 2023. As we say in our motto, we reach in and we reach out. And the discipleship and evangelism cards are here to help us do just that. Don't forget to get additional cards as you spread the love of God to those around you. Lifeline, we are a no-lack nation. Why? Because we are 100% tithers. Join us tonight at 7 p.m. as Pastor recaps today's service. Don't miss this Wednesday's noon Bible study with Pastor Reggie.
One of the things I'm most grateful about regarding Lifeline Church is life groups. Yep, small groups. We don't do life alone. Small groups is where you can go, you can meet new people, have accountability partners, grow in the scriptures. You can pray with people. Just all kinds of great things come with being a part of a life group. Well, we have a new group that's coming, and it is called Husbands Boot Camp. I am leading a new group, Husbands Boot Camp for men between the ages of 20 and 40, married and engaged. It is going to be a good one, okay? We're going to get together. We're going to talk around scripture, talk around life, talk around being a husband, talk around our strengths and our weaknesses, our victories, our learning things, all this good stuff. It is going to be powerful. So go now to the website, go to the mobile app and sign yourself up, brothers, for a Husband's Boot Camp, 20 to 40, married and engaged. It's going to be a good one.
Hey, did you know that our bookstore is getting amped up? That's right. Get ready for our new lifestyle shop. The grand opening is on March 5th. Right now, there is a closeout sale going on where you can buy everything up to 30% off. So head downstairs today. The sale is for a limited time and it's ending February 26th. The Winning Women's Pajama Party is happening on Friday, March 10th, and this time, Crave girls ages 13 and up are welcome to attend. Go to lifelinesoc.com for more information and ticket purchase. Get your tickets today. Lifeline partners and friends, guess what? Lifeline is turning 16. The festivities will take place on Sunday, March 5th with a Sweet 16 celebration at our 10 a.m. worship service. You don't want to miss this event. And speaking of saving the date, don't forget that our Liberty offering is April 30th. Now remember, this is outside of your tithing. So plan on participating in the plan God has to prosper your life. You know what else is going on in April? Easter at Maine presents the blood. We have a weekend planned for you. More info is to come. Hey, we've got a lot going on here, and the best way to stay informed is to go to our website or check out our mobile app. Don't forget, the Real Life Talk Show airs every Sunday and Wednesday before our services. You know Lifeline Church is a place that flows like a river. Catch the vision by reaching up to God, reaching into your fellow brothers and sisters, and reaching out to the community with the love of God. I'll see you next time.
Hey. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I am Pastor Twine, and I will be joining you for your Sunday night recap. So let me see what we got here. Do me a favor if you can. Wanda Miller, how are you? If you can, I need y'all to share this real quick. I'm going to start us off, but I'm excited because we're going to be joined by our pastors who are in Monterrey, Mexico. They're going to be chiming in from Mexico, from our Monterrey campus. And so I'm excited about that. And so, happy 10th year anniversary. They should be on at some point this evening. And so we wanted to just jump on tonight for our recap. So y'all go ahead and share this. tag a few people. Hey, Pastor Twine. Hey, Sean or Trina. I don't know which one it is, but hey, y'all. Yeah, y'all coming in. Let me get this camera on this side of me, so I'll see who all's on here. Tamika Haney. Hey there. Sharonda Porter. Tracy Johnson. Bernice Hoover. How are you? Margot is jumping on. Yeah, we're almost there. We're almost there. Sister Stoudemire is there. Yeah, Tommy Murray. All right. Yeah. Let's get these numbers up real quick. We're gonna do a quick recap from today's service. We had a great time today. I've been in talks with those that have been in Monterey, and they have just been having a phenomenal time this weekend, celebrating what God is doing there in Monterey. So I'm always excited to know that that we are in a place where we have the same like grace. You know, whenever you have a multiple locations and you have expansions, you want the same grace that's in Illinois, in Chicago, that's on our South Campus. That same grace is in Monterey. They have 3 campuses. We have 3 campuses in Monterey, and so I can't wait just to hear some of the things that they have going. Mama Dobbs, hey there. Elder Sylvia, great teaching today, sir. Thank you. So let's take a few minutes and let's jump right into recap. So today we were talking about the Father's house mentality. And I think that it's important for us to really understand that that Father's house mentality it's not a physical place. Yeah, I'm gonna start right there. It's not a physical place, but it's pretty much the mindset. It's a way of thinking. It's environmental. It's your culture, your historical makeup. All of those things make up the Father's house mentality. Now, I'm gonna need y'all to chime in and kind of talk tonight, just so I can make sure, because I had a lot of notes. I did a lot of study about this particular text, this Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 through 4. I had a lot of insight. I did a lot of research. I was just reading just from my own knowledge, and I found out a lot of stuff about this. And so let's start with verse 1, Genesis chapter 12, verse 1. The Lord said to Abram, get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house. That right there, it meant a lot because it posed a lot of questions. Like, you know, what was going on in the country and in Abram's family and in his father's house that was so detrimental that he had to leave. He had to leave. So if you study this out, it's important to understand that Abraham, or Abraham, he had a certain mindset that was developed based on the environment that he was raised in. And if you don't know, let me give you a little information on that. His upbringing was a little bit what's the word I want to use? His upbringing was kind of imbalanced. It wasn't consistent, right? Because, you know, back in those days, it was always the God of Israel. You know, it was our God. And so he grew up in an environment where there was a lot of options, and the family was open to other options and considering other gods and things of that nature. And so his father, what was his name? Terah. His father Terah was very interesting because he understood that he was supposed to live in the ways of God, but he decided to go other options. He took advantage of other options. And so his father was known as the maker of idols, right? And so he was known to worship idols. He was worshiping idols to go along with what they was doing around him, his neighborhood, his country, his families. They were idol worshipers. And Abram was trying to stay the course. And that's interesting because many of us, as it pertains to running our house and keeping our family structure together and being on point with what the ways of God are, we get to a place where we have options. And he had options. His dad had options. And so Abram witnessed his dad go up and down. One day is Jehovah, is God. Then the other days is pagans. It's the God of this or the God of that. And it's the idols. And so in order for Abram to get to where God was taking him, he had to get away from that stuff. And so I want us to understand from that perspective of the Father's house mentality. There are a lot of things that even if you bring it home to like our upbringing and just, some of the things that we were exposed to, some of that stuff, although some were good, as I stated this morning, some had good, upbringings, was limited to a certain degree, but it was pretty good. And good is a good thing to have. It's good to have a good Father's house experience. But there are always things that we pick up that may be toxic to where we're going. And so if you think about that, even from a place of Black History Month, there's a lot of ways of thinking that our forefathers had that won't even translate into where we are now. Like to have a slave mentality now, which a lot of people do, that mentality came from the Father's house. That came from an environment that we were exposed to. That came from being around a place that influenced our thinking, and it came from a place that developed our mindset and our environment and culture. And so when you transition, instead of you renewing your mind, you take all of that stuff with you. And so God told Abram, the stuff that I got for you, in order for you to receive it, you got to get out of your country. You got to get from your family, and you got to get away from your father's house. And he tells him, I'm gonna take you to a land that I'm gonna show you. I'll show you where you're going, but right now I just need you to get out of there. I need you to just get out of there. And sometimes, peep this, sometimes we have to just get to a place where we just got to get out of there. Mentally, we got to just get away from it. Just isolate ourselves, disconnect ourselves from that way of thinking. And so I talked about this morning how this mentality from this Father's house thing, it looks different for everybody. Everybody had a different way of viewing family based on your historic makeup, based on how you were raised, based on all of these things. You got to understand that all of those things affect where you're going, how you think about things, how you don't think about things, how it affects you differently. And so I talked about one thing I said in my notes that was really good. Your definition of life comes from the Father's house. Your perspective of life comes from your environment, how you were raised, how you think of something, how you view something. And you can't live based on what happened at Father's house. And this is important. I also said you got to learn how to move past, PASS, past the past, PAST. Whatever happened, whatever stuff you learned back then or back at Father's house, you got to learn how to move past that. You got to move past your old way of thinking, and you got to move past that. Okay. One of the things we talked about, and I'm just checking in to see what y'all saying. One of the things that was really key to this is you have to come to a place where there's evolution of the mind. Like there has to be a mind shift. Like you just got to change your mind in order to go forward. And that's all God was really telling Abram. Like, you got to get from your old way of thinking. You gotta transition from your old way of thinking, right? You have to move past the Father's house. Absolutely. You got to move past your past. Yep. You got to move past the Father's house. You got to move past your past. Everything that happened back there, man, we got to change our minds. And that's all God was telling Abram in this text. He was like, hey, I got some stuff that I want you to experience, and I want you to have, and I want to show you some stuff. I want to bless you, and I want to make your name great. Let's look at that. Look at this. This is what God's telling him. He says, get out of your country, from your family, from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. And then this is what he says. If you could change your mind, if you can get out of this father's house mentality, here are the benefits. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. I'll make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. Then he says this, I will bless those who bless you. I will curse him who curses you. And in you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. This is what happens as a result of you changing your mind. Leaving your old mindset, your old way of thinking. The benefits come in verses 2 and 3. And so I want to talk about that because I think this is important. As we talk about family and faith and fitness, finances, this is important. The way you think about things, your thought process behind it, it makes a whole lot of difference. Because your mindset will keep you in a place that you don't want to stay. Right? And because you have refused to change your mindset and get away from the Father's house, the country, the family, the way all of those thoughts were back then, in order for you to experience this wonderful, blessed life that God has for you, you got to make some changes. And it starts with your mind, right? It starts with your mind. It starts with your mind. And so one of the other things that I talked about, what y'all saying on here? That's right. People may not understand, but be obedient to the instructions from the Lord. Absolutely. Elder Sylvia, you are absolutely right. There has to be a mindset. And I'm sure if we can go back to this text, I'm sure that when God told him to get out of his country and from his family and from his father's house, I'm sure the people was like, where you going? What's going on? You know, Abram acting funny. Oh, Abram doing what Abram, you know, every time you make an attempt to do something for the better or to transition your life or to push your life forward, isn't it amazing how the family, the neighborhood, the people that's in your country that's supposed to have your back, sometimes those are the first ones to speak negative or say something crazy. Isn't that amazing? That's crazy. And so here's the deal. Here's the deal. In Lance Ellis' voice. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. You have to get away from that. You got to change your mindset, right? That all starts from evolution, right? Evolution gives you a place of growth, evolving, shifting your mindset, evolution of the mind. And I told y'all this morning, evolution of the mind takes time and understanding. It takes time and understanding. When we're evolving our mindsets, we can start the process, but that process of changing your mind takes time. And so here's where we got real deep, and I'm not going to get deep like, you know, it was real interesting this morning when we started talking about God's intent, because before there was a Father's house, there was a God's intent, right? And I think it's very important that we understand what was God's original intent for the family, for your house. And God's original intent, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Let us make man in our image according to our likeness, give them dominion over the fish, over the birds, over the cattle, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. 28. God blessed them. God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, right? And so the original intent for God was for the man and the woman to be together, to be fruitful, to multiply, and subdue the earth. And enjoy the beautiful blessings from God. That was his intent. Then, of course, we know the fall. They went on and disobeyed God. They went on and ate from the tree. And, and Abraham, go back. Abraham didn't let the people. Absolutely. I love that. Abraham didn't let the people be a hindrance for him to move to the new place in God. Absolutely. He didn't. But here's back to this. His intent was for us to be fruitful, multiply, and subdue the earth, to occupy, to have authority over, have dominion over, right? Everything we needed was laid out for us. Then, of course, the fall. They eventually forfeited the original intent of God, and then they were penalized. And in chapter 3 of Genesis, that's when they start talking about the woman will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception and pain. You shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Then he says to the man, because you heeded to the voice of your wife, and have eaten from the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake. Work, in toil you shall eat all the days of your life, both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you. And you shall eat herb in the field. This is crazy right here. Verse 19, in the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, which means you're going to have to work for everything you eat. Because of the fall, that's what happens. And so it was God's original intent for us to subdue the earth and be fruitful, multiply. And then and then after the fall, he had to give them responsibilities, because the original plan was for them to operate and subdue the earth, be fruitful and multiply together. But once that fall happens, he had to separate them and give them different responsibilities, right? And we talked about that. Talked about some of that. But here's what I want to get to. Because of the fall, it gave man the option to establish his house outside of God's intent. That's what the fall did. The fall of man gave us options, right? Gave us options. Y'all know a lot of times we ain't no good when we got options, especially when you got a lot of options. You ever go to a store and you see a certain shoe and you like the shoe, but they got them in all different colors and they got all different presentations of it, and you like, oh man, I don't know which one I want. They all look good. Too many options. And so this is what happens. This is what happens in the Father's house. This is what happened in Abram's house. His father had too many options. So many options that he had the ability to establish his house outside of God's original intent. And this is why some of us are where we are now, because we've allowed ourselves to have options or take advantage of the options to establish our house outside of God's original intent. Isn't that's man, That's crazy, because when we're making these decisions and we have these options, one of the things you got to make sure you understand is you got to understand that your options are going to affect the future. It's going to affect your kids. It's going to affect your children, your children's children. It's going to affect other generations, because because Terah, who was Abram's father, he did this. He messed it up for the next few generations in his family. Abram had to come and fix that. Abram had to come and he had to fix that, because his father had already messed it up for the generations after that. And so you got to be careful. Yeah, you got to be careful of what decisions you make when you are establishing your house, right? Because you have an option. You can do it according to God's original intent, or you can do it your own way. And the reality is, you have that option. That's the reality. The reality is you have that option. And in Abram's case, his father's options and decisions caused him to lose focus on the assignment for the family. His options and decisions caused him to lose focus on the assignment for his family. I want to encourage y'all tonight, as we talking about this recap, whatever the assignment is for your family, don't allow your options and decisions to cause you to lose focus on that assignment. If y'all don't hear, type this in. Don't lose focus. Don't lose focus. Don't lose focus. Don't lose focus. It's important. It's important to maintain your focus. It's important to maintain your focus, especially when it comes to the assignment that you have for your family. That's important. Don't lose focus. Don't lose focus, because here's what happens. When we were talking about the roles, right? This is one of the things that the Lord gave me some insight on. You got to know that in family there are roles, right? And I said this morning. And I'm not talking about who gonna wash the dishes and who gonna cook, who mop, that type of thing. I'm not talking about those roles in the house. I'm talking about what was God's intent for the role of the man in the house. What was God's intent for the role of the woman in the house? Those assignments that were given, those are the assignments that we can't lose focus on, right? My job as a husband, as a father, is to provide, protect, and cover. That's my job. And so, because my job is to provide, protect, and to cover, my wife can't focus on what my job is, because that's my job. That's my responsibility. And so if I'm focusing on providing, protecting, and covering, it gives her the room and the legway or the leg room to be nurturing, to love, to encourage, support, and do all of those things that a virtuous woman is supposed to do. If I'm doing my role, she gets to do her role. And if I'm focused on my role and my responsibility, my assignment, she focuses on her assignment. That means we can come together and everybody do their job. We're going to flourish every time. And so that's why it's important to not lose your focus. Can't lose your focus. Don't allow, watch this, don't allow the enemy to steal your focus. Right? That's what happened. That's what happened to Abram's dad, his father. He lost focus. He started focusing on his options and what he could do and what they was going to allow him to do, and he can worship idols and wasn't nobody gonna say nothing, and he can worship God a little bit, and then he can go and worship these idols and statues and golden calves and all that stuff. And it was just, he lost focus. And we got to make sure that we are focused on our role. What is your role? Right? If you focus, when it comes to the family, and I talk about this a lot, one of the issues that we've had in the family structure is we have too many voided responsibilities, right? And when a man is not there, there's a void, right? There's a hole, because that assignment is not being taken care of. And so that causes stagnation, because now all of the weight from whoever is not playing their role falls on the other person. And you got to know this. You got to know this. You got to know this. If I'm doing my role, right, and my wife is doing her role, it's important for us to stay in our own lanes, right? You do your role. You focus on your assignment. I do mine. I focus on my assignment, and we all get a chance to push our families forward, our vision forward. Here's the problem. The problem is when the expectations of the role has been violated. When the expectation of the role has been violated, it causes chaos, right? For instance, if it's my role to provide, protect, and cover, let me do my thing, right? Because that's what's in me. If you study the Bible, the men were the ones that were hunters, right? The men were the ones that went to war, right? The men were the ones that went to the field and got resources so that they can build homes and they can build certain things so the family can be taken care of. That was the man's responsibility, right? And the women ran the house, Proverbs 31, right? They took care of the house. They made sure that they were focused on what was in them to perform, right? And so what happens is sometimes those those roles will get crossed. And so I'm trying to do what she was created to do, and she trying to do what I was created to do, and that's not, you losing focus. So let's make sure that we are focused on our roles. One of the things that I noticed, there's a father's grace that's on my life, right? There's a father's grace that's on my life. I'm starting to become the father figure for a lot of people. My son's friends and both my boys, their friends in the neighborhood, the friends that my friends, their kids, they call me dad, daddy-o, pops, whatever. And I'm accepting that role because apparently a lot of men have lost their post. They left their post. And you got to understand that that's not the intent of God, right? To put this type of pressure on these women to do certain things that we were supposed to do, it's an imbalance. You know, a lot of the stuff that we deal with, and it's interesting because when you talk about father's house, the question becomes, what if there was no father's house to leave? You know, for me, it was grandmother's house. It was my grandmother's house, or it was my mom's house. Even that's still a mentality that was established. But my point is this. We got to find ways to make sure that the roles and responsibilities that's been given us, we got to focus on those roles and responsibilities. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And so when I'm saying stay focused on your assignment, that's what I mean. I mean, we are in the place now where we need people to be in place, especially for the family, especially for our children. especially for our teenagers, our generations. We got to be okay. We got to be okay with the fact that God has sent somebody in your life to help you fill a void for your young people. Right? At my job, I fill a lot of voids because there are no mentors, there are no father figures, there are no big brothers, there are no people to look up to, and I happen to be that person. And I'm starting to understand that, hey, that's just a grace that's on my life. And if there's a void and somebody has lost focus, the child and the mom should not have to suffer for that. And so this is just me talking. This is me talking. It's just me talking. We got to be focused on these assignments, man. You know, it's because there's so many absentee fathers. There's not a lot of men around. Those of us, and I'm gonna throw this challenge out there. Those of us who are good fathers and good father figures, we got to be okay with stepping in and helping some people out. We got to be okay with helping young teenagers who may not have a mentor or father figure or something like that. We got to do that. That's a part of our assignment, right? And so don't lose your focus. That's what I was saying. Don't lose focus. Let me see what y'all was saying in here. I saw a few comments. Okay. You need to make sure the options you choose is God breathed. There you go, Elder. Always remember God sees the big picture and he only wants the best for you. He will only give us his best. You need to have patience. Something she said, you need to make sure that the option that you choose is God breathed. There you go. I like that. We got to spend time with God as it pertains to our families and what it is that we're doing and where we're going. We got to make sure that I had a shirt made and the shirt said, my only option is God. That shirt said, my only option is God. And that's big because if you eliminate all of the other options, your number one option would be God. Yeah, I like that. So Elder Sylvia said, always remember God sees the big picture and he only wants the best for you. We got to know that. Don't lose your focus. Everyone has a role. Don't lose your focus on it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Yep, that's it on the screen. That was real good. This is very important. This is very important. And I know we talked about a lot and we might not get to a lot, but that's right. Type in the chat, my only option is God. My only option is God. When that's your mentality, it shifts you from the Father's house to the Father's house, right? Your Father God, his way. We have to get back to God's way. Abram's father's house was contaminated by everything else other than God's way. That's good. He had too many options. My only option is God. When that's your mindset, you will slowly but surely start transitioning from that Father's house mindset. You were your mindset will start shifting because I don't have any more options. My only option is good. Is God. My only option is God. When you eliminate your options and your only option is God, you got the best option that there is. It's his way. It's his way. That's where we should be in our life. In our ordained year, we should be sold out to God's way. We should be, that should be the main focus. God's way. What how you want me to do it, God? What you want me to do? Is this the right thing? Is this the right way to go? This the right job? This the right salary? Should I go? Should I deny it? Should I fight it? Should I remove myself from it? God's way. And if our families are going to get back to God's original intent, we got to get back to doing it his way. Got to get back to doing it his way. When you have options, it'll mess you up. and this man had too many options. He had too many options. Get back to God's way. Y'all with me? Get back to God's way. God's way, his principles, his boundaries, his standards, right? His laws, his promises, and his lifestyle. All of that stuff is developed from God's house, right? God's ways. So you leave the Father's house and you transfer your mind to the Father's house. And then your only option becomes God. Only option is God, because I'm doing it his way, right? I'm becoming more spiritual minded as it pertains to my thinking and my thoughts. And I'm getting to that place where I'm able to see things not from my own view, but from God's view. Right? And you got to make sure that you understand that. I'm going to say that again. I'm gonna say that again. Principles, boundaries, and standards, laws, promises, and lifestyles, they all come from God's way. So the instructions, if we want to learn how to transition from the Father's house, and I'm almost done. If we want to get to the place where we are transitioning from the Father's house mentality, meaning the Father's house, Abraham or Abram's father, if we want to do that, you got to make sure that you transition your thinking to the Father's house, God's way, God's house, right? And so in his house, there are principles, there are boundaries and standards, there are laws, there are promises and lifestyles. They all come from God's house. It's God's way or the highway. Elder Sylvia said, when we don't use God options, we are responsible for the situation we're in. Man, our wrong options puts into wrong choices, which are not not God's way. That's what happened with Tyra, right? He has so many options, and that's good because you are responsible for your choices. And so when we get to these places and we have to make choices and decisions, we got to make sure that we're doing it God's way, or else we're responsible for what happens as a result of our choice or our decision. And sometimes that can be tough, because this man and Abram's father eventually died. And so he wasn't able to even see Abram do any of the stuff that God called him to do. But he did not realize that he was putting into jeopardy the succession of his family because of his bad choices. Them options will do that for you. Good. Oh, wait a minute. What they saying? Oh, Pastor responded to me. He said the Wi-Fi won't let him be great. Hey, we're praying. Pastor tried to jump on, but he said the Wi-Fi won't let him be great. So, yeah. Okay. We're definitely praying, and I'm sure we'll get updates. You guys have a safe travels coming home tomorrow. Enjoy the night. Send our love to Pastor Jesus, Pastor Vicky, all of the other campus pastors in Mexico. We love you guys. and what you're doing. So let me finish up. Pastor wanted to jump on, but he's not going to be able to jump on. So in my conclusion, let me conclude here. The Father's house mentality, we gotta transition that so we can get to God's way, right? We gotta train our minds, and we gotta transition our thoughts from this whole Father's house mentality, and we gotta get God's way, the Father's, right? The Father, God's house. We got to get those type of thoughts, those type of ways, those type of strategies, because at the end of the day, and I'll fast forward to the story, once Abram made this transition, God made him the father of many nations, right? He gave him everything that he promised him, and it was because Abram was obedient, right? It was because Abram was obedient when he was told to get out of his father's house, get out of his country, away from his family. He was obedient to that. That's when that mindset shifted him and positioned him to receive every promise that God made. And so look, in my conclusion, I got a lot more, but I'm going to stop. In my conclusion, we got to understand, we have to understand that there is a mindset, a Father's house mindset, that we have to transition from. We got to navigate past that. We have to get to the place where we are transferring the Father's house mentality to God's way. If we can get back to God's way, I think our families will be better. Our faith will grow. Our finances will be better. Even our health, our fitness will be better. But it's all about doing it God's way. Right? It's all about doing it God's way. Right? And so tonight, make up in your mind that as it pertains to my family, I'm going to do it God's way. For those of you that's on here tonight, make this declaration. I'm doing it God's way. Type that. I'm doing it God's way. I'm doing it God's way. I'm doing it God's way. Type that in. Type that in. We getting ready to jump off. I'm doing it God's way. I'm doing it God's way. Type that in on the way out. I'm doing it God's way. I'm doing it God's way. Everything that we have for this ordained year is going to be predicated on our ability to do it God's way. We're getting rid of this Father's house mentality and the way things used to be, and how they used to do it, and how my mom and them said it, and how they did it in my old neighborhood and all that. No, do it God's way. I'm doing it God's way. Everything that I'm asking for, my ordained year, is predicated on me doing it God's way. And if I can do it God's way, I believe that everything that he promised me, I'm going to have, just like he did for Abram. Just like he did from Abram. Abram was obedient to the instructions from the Lord. He made that move. He did it God's way, and he became a father of many nations. He is one of the fathers of faith. You read the Bible, he's considered the father of faith, because when God said move, he moved, and he just trusts God was going to make everything good. And he did. And he did. And he did. So look, that was my recap, because that was as much as I got to today. And I wanted to just kind of talk about that and kind of encourage you guys. Let's change our mindsets. Let's get out of the Father's house mentality. Let's prepare our hearts to go and grow and to get everything that God has for you, right? If we speak the word, we will see it, no matter how it looks in the natural. That's right, Elder. We got to do it God's way. We got to be able to speak his word. We got to see it manifest, no matter how it looks in the natural. Hallelujah. That's good stuff. Yeah, y'all still typing. I'm doing it God's way. I'm doing it God's way. I need to put that. That's going to be my post. I'm going to post that on my social media page. I'm doing it God's way. I'm doing it God's way. And so look, if you want to go back and watch the sermon again, the message, it was a good word this morning. We had a great time around the word. Amazing service today. Let's keep this in mind. We want to make sure that we continue to pray for those that are in Monterrey, Mexico. We have 3 campuses there. Make sure that you are in prayer for them. They celebrated. They had the big time gala event tonight. So I saw some of the pictures already. They look like they had an amazing time. Our pastors and delegates will be home tomorrow. So we are praying for safe travel. We are praying for restoration in their sleep, in their peace. No backlash, no retaliation for what they've done already. God will get the glory out of everything they're doing. So listen, I'm done. I hope you enjoyed the recap. I pray that you enjoy the rest of your night. Don't forget about everything we got going on this week. You guys have a great night. Enjoy yourself, and I'll see you guys next time. Go in peace. Good night.